It's on talk show with I'm your host Jamie Pendleton. I'm standing in for my brother John Holmes, who is not able to be with us on today. We have our show topic tonight is hot money, and we have some men here who are going to talk to us about hot money and our young people, how to help them, encourage them, understanding their value. Our first guest here is Minister Farrell from the Empowerment Temple Church, Pastor Jamal Bryant and his pastor. Minister, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me, sir.
All right, our show topic is hot money. Many of our young people today are looking for money really quickly to deal with their situations. Talk to us about some avenues and some things that happen when you try to get money quickly. They're on the wrong avenue.
Well, hot money causes a person to really sell his soul, because when he chasing hot money, he chasing a whole lot of hot adversity that come with chasing hot money. The more that you get to gravitate into chasing hot money, the more you'll gravitate into chasing after sin, because that's what hot money leads to. It leads to a life of destruction. It leads to a life of distorted. It leads to a life of shame. It leads to a life of misery. And it also leads to temporary pleasure. You know what I mean? And that's what the delusion that deceive us by chasing hot money. We can get caught up in this delusion of the fame and the fortune, that the things that are attainable, that hot money buy us. You know what I mean? But it don't buy us a good godly life. It don't buy us love. It don't buy us peace. It don't buy us a whole lot of joy, because this is what comes from the inside. But when you chase that hot money, you chasing a lifetime of misery. You chasing a lifetime of pain. You chasing a lifetime of chaos and confusion.
I got a question for you. Looking at our community, a lot of our young people face adversities. Having a single parent household, parent who's working, having brothers and siblings who don't have enough, and feeling like that the responsibility to take care of your family has now fallen upon the young people. And so when you are offered $1,000 a week compared to making $7 an hour working at Burger King, and you're struggling, most people would take the opportunity to make the money that they weren't able to make on their own. Give them some encouragement on how to not take what's always quick is not always best. My pastor told me everything that grows quickly don't mean it's healthy, because anything that grows too quickly is an infection. Exactly. And anytime something is an infection, eventually it will pop. And so many times our young people don't realize that what they're doing is not empowering their community, but infecting their community. Yes. And eventually everything is going to have a day when it's not working anymore. Talk to us about that.
Well, you know what I mean, basically, I'm talking to somebody young out there that showing you how that I got caught up of chasing hot money. You know what I mean? I sold my soul of selling drugs, you know what I mean, thinking that was the way out, that was the quick fix, because I got caught up in that lifestyle of glamourism. You know what I mean? I got caught up on not trying to get a 9-to-5 job, and I was seeing the stacks of thousands of dollars that I could make so quickly. But it also wasn't the right path that I choose to really, that I would encourage you to take today, because what a horse that run out the race fast don't last long. You know what I mean? Eventually, you know what I mean, the law gonna catch up with you, the stick-up man gonna catch up with you, jail gonna catch up with you. So it's repercussions and consequences come with chasing that hot money. You know what I mean? You can easily lose your life, you can lose your freedom, you know what I mean? You can lose so much just chasing after hot money. So I would encourage you that, you know what I mean, even though it seems like the right opportunity and the right way to go because it's fast, you know what I mean? But I guarantee you, if you just take it one day at a time, and you know what I mean, sometimes we got to crawl before we walk. You know what I mean? So a Mickey D's job might seem bad at the time, but you got a lot of brothers that's in prison today that chase that hot money, that, you know what I mean, went to, you know what I mean, there's some brothers that started out as Mickey D's, now own their own, you know what I mean, own a business. And when they come out of jail, they ask them, who you rolling with? And they say, no, I'm rolling with King Jesus. I started off with Mickey D's, and then I escalate in God, you know what I mean, enlarge my territory, enlarge my platform, and I went and got some skills, and now I'm a business owner.
The Bible clearly indicates to be faithful over a few, he makes you ruler over many. And so the aspect of there has to be labor before there's reward.
That's right.
There has to be work before there's you can gain. And I think we live in a culture where we have this set it and forget it religion. We have this microwave phenomenon where we think everything should happen in a moment and in an instant.
Yes,
but the
sir.
reality of it is we live in a culture that has a lot of people who are oppressed. And so hot money is the avenue that some of us go down
Right.
because there is an oppression of our community. What is your goal? What do you think about how can we change the culture of the community that we don't imprison our own people by selling something that hurts our own community, but we now give value to our community saying, well, if you work hard, success is available to you. If you fight for success, you will have success that you're trying to have. Talk to us about that.
Well, you know, I kind of somewhat fault the churches because the church is not resourceful. You know what I mean? I go on a corner every day, you know, man, as I go on a corner every day and preach the gospel, I can't tell a young man to get off that corner, you know what I mean, knowing that might be his avenue of taking care of his siblings. You know what I mean? He might be he might got some siblings at home that he might not be going to school, but he makes sure that he clothe them, he feed them, and take them. So I gotta have some kind of resource to offer that individual that's on that corner. So the church has got to be more resourceful. You know what I mean? Just besides telling them to get Jesus, you know what I mean? We got to start owning property. We got to start owning business. And today, the churches today is not owning no business. The only thing they own is you know what I mean? God is the church in the Family Life Center.
I don't agree with that. Let me tell you why. I think the church is doing everything we can do as far as the church. I pastor a local branch of Zion. Okay. So I, as a pastor, I think my branch is doing everything we can with the opportunities we have. So I may not have the job for you at the Renewed Hope, but I have an avenue of talking to somebody who hire ex-offenders. I have an avenue to talk to somebody who hires this. So I may not have the finances to pay for it in the church, but just because that resource is not at that house doesn't mean the church isn't resourceful. I think oftentimes people don't use the resources that the church has because we condemn the church. We put an indictment on the church saying the church isn't doing anything. But when we try to reach out to people, people look at us as we're trying to be stuck up and pretentious. When we're trying to show somebody if we can do it, you can do it too. My father, and I don't tell this often, my father was a drug dealer, one of the biggest drug dealers in West Baltimore. And I didn't know he was a drug dealer. I knew that was my daddy. And so he kept me out of that life. He kept me out of that life because he wanted his son to have a better life. He wanted his daughter to have a better life. And I'm thankful for a father who said, I'm not going to allow my child to go through some of the things that I went through because I want their life to be better. Now, did I struggle as an adult? Yes. Did I have some broke seasons where your check wasn't all that what it was cracked to be? Absolutely. But am I thankful now as I get older, now thankful that I had a father who said, listen, I'm not going to let you do that, but I'm going to let you understand I took you out of Baltimore City, I moved you to Baltimore County, but I let you understand what hard work and dedication will get you when you say faithful to God. And I was in a church who didn't have money, but had a whole lot of family who looked out for me and said, don't go down that path, Jamie, because greater is coming. I think if we're going to be the church, if we're going to talk about the church has to continue to say, greater is coming. Be faithful of a few, he'll make you ruler over many. And that's what our church standpoint is.
And Pastor Penny, that's cool and everything. Don't get me wrong, not saying that I'm not specific saying that the church is not resourceful. You know what I mean? Because all churches have some churches have a lot of resource. Some have a little resource. You know what I mean? But I'm talking about churches today got to be global minded. We have been small minded. He said the kingdom of God, you know what I mean? Everything that a person needs should be in the kingdom of God and in the house of God. The children of God supposed to not have to go out into the world and get anything because God said, if you take care of my house, then I will take care of your house. So everything that the children of God are needing should be in the house of God. We should also, you know what I mean, not just having, you know what I mean, places where we can, you know what I mean, take people to, you know what I mean, just, you know what I mean, where they got criminal records. When I'm saying we supposed to be business minded and global minded. You know what I mean? Just like John Hopkins. John Hopkins is buying up all the property right now. You know what I mean? Where the churches should be able to own houses. You know what I mean? Church should be owning senior citizen buildings.
I agree with
you. Know
you.
What I mean? Resourceful.
I agree with
How
you.
many churches today do you can say that own senior citizen buildings, own a couple of houses? You understand? We got to be resourceful and owning business. So
We have
therefore,
to-
if somebody else won't hire them, we can hire.
And let me respond to that as we wrap up this session. I think we have to be clear about there are churches who have the financial resources to buy homes, to have senior. Wayland Baptist Church, I know, has a senior citizens home. My pastor has businesses that they own too. I have businesses that I employ our young people to work for as well. I think, but what has to be understanding, we can't indict the church. We have to make sure that if we're gonna have the church do something, there has to be meat in the storehouse. The Bible is clear when it talks about that. The reason why some churches can't do anything because the people aren't bringing any resources to the storehouse for there to be meat for everybody. That's the biblical basis of that. So as we conclude the session, I thank you for coming on. I thank you for coming on. We ask that you will come back again and keep on doing your ministry, keep doing what God has called you to do. We appreciate you. We'll see you back here in a little while as we do our concluding segment. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
As I say, it's commercial break. Thank you for coming back to join us. I'm here with another segment with our brother Thomas is here with us on today. We thank you for being with the show. Brother Thomas, I just got a couple of questions I want to ask you. Our show topic today is hot money. Recently, we're hearing about all of our young people, and we're seeing our young people who are out here chasing finances, chasing resources to make life more livable today. What can you do? What can you encourage our young people with so they can understand that quick money is not always good money?
Well, when they say quick money, a lot of young kids and I seen coming up make quick money, like athletes. They get it quick. Some focus, some not focus. I have a problem with it. One thing I have a problem with people, not understanding young people. They the most beautiful thing that the eyes have a witness, because we all was young once. We have our ups and downs. We come from different families, like you just explained earlier, that, something that was kept from you. Same thing here, but I took to the streets. I was young once. I wanted it quick myself, and I got it quick. It didn't pay all the time, so it took me through some changes, and I knew it did. And I hurt a lot of people, far as family-wise, because of the situations I, took myself through. And, but, quick money, sometimes it don't pay, but sometimes it do pay. And we have to understand that only thing we're trying to do is keep kids focused, to let them know that, look, you can get it honestly, whether it's quick or slow. Any way you look at it, the money is there. And it's for, always try to encourage kids to do this. Whatever you see, whatever you're dreaming about, whatever you really truly see in your heart, go get it. Get it as fast as you can, because life ain't but a second here if God wills it.
The Bible says, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? And we are seeing a society where everything that's not good for us is being publicized, but everything that's good for us is being ignored. They say the quickest way to keep African American people from knowing anything is to put it in a book, because we don't take the time out to read and discover who we are. And I have no problems with our young men achieving and going after what God has in store for them. But our caution is, don't do something that will have you in jeopardy of losing your life and being incarcerated. I have family members who all of them are not delivered from everything. And I have some of them who make a lot more money than I do doing what they do that's quick and fast in the street. But one of the things I constantly tell them, that when we have these discussions about finances and things that we have obtained in life, I say, well, yeah, you may have more money than I do, and yeah, your car may be nicer than me. But one thing I have over top of you that you can't get is peace of mind. that I can go to bed at night and don't have nobody kicking in my door, the police kicking in my door, or somebody trying to take me out for the position that I hold. That I may not have your money at the moment, but if I stay faithful over a few things, God will continue to increase my storage. And so talk to us about that. There's nothing wrong with getting. It's the mechanism and the method behind trying to obtain.
Okay, to give what you just said, to give feed to it, to give food to it. When you start looking at history, the history of man, and how long he been here. He been here forever. You have to keep that in mind. And when you take a look back, even to this day, you're only looking back at what he done. And all the way from what he done, he's only here because God wills it for him to be here. God's with him. That's the way he always been. God knows everything. We say this. Here's how my father is a Christian. You see, he brought his family up as Christians. You know, he says, as he taught me in the Bible, you know, that he said nothing, this is what he gives them. He said nothing is above him. And I was trying to figure out who he was talking to and who he was talking about. And I said, who are you talking about? He said, we're talking about a him. Him as in who? God told him. God told him and he did it. And that's the way it was showed to me. He said, look how long man been here. From the time, and as you go back and you try to give time to how long he been here, young people sees this. He's still going to see himself always coming. What God gives is what God foresees this. You know, I don't try to say that, you know, what, God is not going to do. God just shows us the way. Everything belongs to him. Everything he shows us. Everything he sees. This is where it's been taught to me. That's why I try to tell young people, look, whatever you see, go get it. Don't let nobody stop you from what you want to see. Learn how to protect yourself. Learn how to protect your family, because you're gonna be faced with some things that you wouldn't believe that is coming. You know, people say, well, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get this. You lose your life anyway. We can live here right now and lose our life. I don't try to get into religion because I know you can get a serious debate. It could go on forever. But what I do understand is that when I'm out here and I'm in this world, I know I'm in this world. You know, I got family, I got children. You see what I'm saying? I got grandchildren, and I got great-grandchildren.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so, and my thing is to say, look, what do you want? What do you see for yourself? Let no one stop you from going to get it. No matter what. You know, if you see a way to get it, go get it. But you better be careful on how you go after it, because you're faced with things that in this world that can hurt you, destroy you, or get rid of you.
Let me say it like this, and I only can give what I believe. I can't say what I don't believe and what I stand on. I appreciate your viewpoint and aspect on it. I really believe in the season that we're in, there is a hit out on our young people. I think we have publicized, and again, I'm going to go back to this point, I think we have publicized what should not be publicized. There was a time when we promoted African-American family. We promoted the family was a central point. The family was what we promoted, and we promoted unification and brotherhood and sincerity in our community. And a same aspect of going to get what your dreams are, going after the scholarship, going after your football career, going after whatever business you wanted to open. But at the same time, we have to be mindful that we don't set our young people up for failure, that we are sending them into directions that God can get the glory out and they can be empowering to their community and to their own lives. Nothing is wrong with moving quickly. Nothing is wrong with getting and achieving quickly. But there is caution to achieving quickly when it causes devastation to other people. There's a caution to that. And so my prayer is, my standpoint is that if we're going to tell people to chase a dream, if we're going to tell people to go after it, and I totally agree with you in the aspect of if you see it and you desire to have it, go after it, but go after something that God can get the glory out of. Go after something that won't ruin your reputation. Go after something that won't get you behind bars, because right now our society has now devalued African American men freedom to say they're more valuable locked up than they are valuable on the street. They're more valuable incarcerated than they are in college. And so we're trying to, it's our goal to try to shift the generation, shift the mindset of a community to saying, listen, we want you to go to college. We don't want you behind closed bars. We want you to go after businesses. We want you to obtain whatever God has for you and go after it hard.
Okay.
And one of the things that we're trying to do is to change that culture. Is there anything, final words you want to say?
Yes,
Second?
I like to feed it to that again. I like to feed it to that. You know, I can remember when I was young, as a teenager, and I saw things coming up. Like I said, it was particular in my community then. We knew who was the enemy.
Right.
We knew who would bust your head.
Right.
We knew his neighborhoods right in Baltimore City that you couldn't walk in.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So things have changed. We knew then. You see, and it's still to this day. It's just that we at fault. We at fault. We don't protect our communities like we should. We see all, when you walk around, you see officers. You know, kids ain't really doing nothing. They having fun. They do that to our communities. You have to watch out how the media portrays us.
Absolutely.
You know, that they take our communities and make it look like a few. It's only a few. It's always been a few that they put above all. Mm-hmm. You see? Because look at the graduation that happened just this year. All those kids who graduated from high school. All those kids, my granddaughter graduated from high school 2 years ago, and you see all the graduation. Nobody sees all that. They don't put that out front. We see officers who harass people, beat up on them. You know, I watch it on TV. They say showing an officer stood him handling a situation. I saw him as the KKK for real. You know, when you beat, I've seen a beat a 60-something-year-old woman in the ground. I said, look at that there. I'm looking at him. I said, that's not the kind of white people that I knew. Right. And coming up, and my friends and young kids getting along today, they go in neighborhoods. You can see whites and blacks, just like King said. You can see them together, but they're trying to separate them. They doing that. The media do that. They got people who hiding behind these uniforms. You know, police, they don't have no respect for young kids. They don't have respect for anyone.
All right. Oh, okay. All right. Listen, we're going to deal with that. We're going to deal with that in our final segment. I got some thoughts about that. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate having you, my brother.
Sure.
But we definitely going to deal with that avenue. We're definitely going to walk down that avenue in our final segment. All right? Thank you so much. Let's take a commercial break. And we're back with Brother Anthony. Brother Anthony, thank you for being on the show with us today. We appreciate having you. We appreciate having you. Our show topic tonight is hot money. We're talking about our young people and how they value quick and fast money that we've seen them attain in the streets today. If you could talk to our young people about some of the things that hot money attracts, what would you tell them?
Well, I would rather talk to the adults, but since
talk to both. Talk to both. Talk to both.
One of the things I would say to them is not to accept the situational circumstances that you were born into or you find yourself into, whether it's through poor decision making, mistakes, or whatever. Don't accept it as your reality. You can do better than that. You're better than that if you're in a negative situation. As far as hot money, fast money, drug money, however you want to label it, it's never a good thing. Money in itself is not evil. Money, a lot of people say money is the root of all evil, but that's not right. It says the love of money is the root of all
Absolutely.
evil. But also money does answer all things in the earth, the word of God says. So it's needed, it's necessary. And you know, I kind of empathize or relate to young people in that when you're in a situation where you need things, the necessities of life, I'm not talking about Jordans or jewelry or things like that. But when you're in a situation where you need the necessities of life, food, shelter, clothing, feed your children, feed yourself, take care of things, and you don't see a way out, you know, your circumstances are to you are extenuating. You can't find a job anywhere. You feel like, you know, the walls are closing in on you, that you don't have any options, no other choice but to resort to drugs, guns, violence, or whatever to feed yourself or take care of the things that you need to do. So I would speak to them and say that hold on, okay, think, try to find other avenues of support for yourself, Okay, take into account the end result. You know, I delved into that coming up. People were in my ear telling me, just say no. That was one of the sayings that was out, and this or that. But that wasn't going to feed my children. That wasn't going to feed me. That wasn't going to take care of my bills or clothe me. But it took jail. It took a few things of that nature, negative results of selling drugs, using them, and getting fast money, being robbing people, to get me to focus on what was more important and get my priorities in straight.
When we think about our society today, and I said this in one of the previous segments, and I'll say this again, and we could talk about this. We publicize what should not be celebritized. And so we have artists talking about drugs and women and loose, quick fixes and situations, but we don't talk about how other avenues, how to make it work. We grew up in a time where the community was a family,
Right.
and that there was a unification of the body. And I think part of the struggle that we face right now is that there is no unification, that we have people who have now have their own homes as individual kingdoms and not remember that it takes a community, a village to raise a child. And I think, and this is my perspective, if we get back to the village, then our village won't be devastated the way it's devastated.
Right.
We'll have some empowerment saying, listen, Johnny, you don't have to go steal to do this. Come on, I'm going to have you work at my store. I'm going to have you do this. I'm going to have you do that. To empower our people to say that this does not have to be your only avenue. Especially in a society today where the men are not in homes, when you don't see a lot of father figures in places. And so now we have an epidemic of children taking care of children.
Right.
You grandma when you're 25 and you great-grandmama when you're 36. And so we have this problem, we have this situation, and the only way of survival is to hustle. The only way to survival is to make quick money when there is no resources coming to the house. Talk to us about getting back to understanding the value of people and the value of community that can help change our culture.
That's very important. You know, the word also says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. And I think that one of the things that we're lacking in the community is adult mentors. Men. It's going to take men to get these young men on the right track. So if every man could take a young man, if it's not your biological child or relative, could take whoever's in your sphere of influence, a young man, and give them options. Let them know there's other options out there besides negativity, okay? If we can just take a person and be a mentor to that individual, whether it's a neighbor or a friend, you know, but we have to stand up and be accountable to the young generation. We have to take responsibility in our own lives as men and then pass that on down to them, but give them options. They feel as though they don't have any options at this point, you know.
My mother, who works for the Baltimore City Public School System, oftentimes tells me and my sister how she sees young people come to school early because the lunch program, the breakfast program that the school system has, and which was instituted by the Black Panther movement years ago,
Right.
when we were going through the civil rights or the depression. And she talks about us how the kids come early because they have no food or they didn't have any food since the last time they had lunch that day. When you're looking at that kind of oppression from people who struggle like that, their avenue would be to get some quick money. Their avenue would be to galvanize support as quickly as possible. But there was an avenue of the community where the hustlers said, "You're too young for this, go home.
Right.
This ain't you, go back to where you belong at." And I think it takes us to have some character to say, listen, I'll support you even if you're not working for me.
Right.
I'll help you out, making sure I hold you down even if this is not, because this ain't the avenue for you. And can you talk to us about how hot money can be deadly money?
Yes. The end result of hot money is always deadly. Okay, if it doesn't result in jail or being killed or in the hospital, for that, you know, you have friends turning on friends for money, for the love of money. You have people betraying one another, doing anything to get it. You have young ladies selling their bodies to get it. You have young men selling their bodies to get it. The word says the wages of sin is death, okay? But the gift of God is eternal life through
Absolutely.
Christ. So I mean, we have to, we have to put the word out there, okay? You have to put a word against this. The word also says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And I think a lot of times we think that legislation is going to change it, changing laws on the books are going to change it. That's good. But some situations and circumstances that you brought up, you can't politicize it. You can't change a man's heart through laws and political laws. There has to be a prayer instituted. There has to be men coming together, people coming together, praying and taking someone by the hand, not just with prayer and giving them a word, but as the other brother said earlier, a minister said earlier, give resources. You have to give up your time, of your money, and of yourself to these people to show them that there's a better way. You have to do that. Other than that, it's a lost cause.
Brother Anthony, thank you for coming on. We're going to be back with our last segment with all three of our guests who will return, and we will continue this discussion. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're taking after this commercial break. And we're back to It's On Talk Show. I'm here with the three gentlemen from our earlier segments, and we're going to talk about some things that are going on with our young men, our young people in our community. Recently, another one of our young African-American men was slain in the street in St. Louis, Missouri, Ferguson, Missouri, who was killed on his way to going his way to college on Monday with his hands lifted. He was shot 10 times by the Ferguson Police Department. The Ferguson Police Department at this time has not even released the officer's name who killed the young man in cold blood. But this is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen this over and over again in our community. Last year, this time, we were talking about Trayvon Martin and so many other young people who were killed in the streets. We're going to take a moment. Let's talk about some of the blueprint that our children has been labeled as they're more valuable in prison and they're more valuable as news stories than they are in college, and they're the new hot money for corporations.
Well, as you're dealing with now, prison is nothing but a big business. It always has been a big business, but now it's been publicly publicized and publicity so much now that we seeing that they don't value the life. They value the life more inside the prison because they can get more cheap labor out of them than they value a life outside. You know what I mean? As well. So our children are being targeted as a hit is out on their life because they have our young generation potentials of them never really tapping into their destiny, tapping into their values, tapping into knowing who they can be. You know what I mean, as well. So that's why, you know what I mean, we gotta instill into them that your life is valuable. You are somebody. You're gonna be somebody one day. But a lot of time our children today, they have zeal but no guidance. And zeal without guidance is very dangerous.
Well, I don't totally agree with that, but I believe this. It's how they being portrayed. They beautiful. I mean, when you really look at it, it's the image that they give. It's what somebody. You mentioned Trayvon. With the hood thing, the tattoo thing. They start doing this to our community. I remember one time when I was young, I used to get in a lot of fights. They was training me because back then, like I said, we had an enemy, and it was straight up, who will beat you up, who will, who will hurt you. You see, so and we hung together because if you got caught by yourself, what could happen to you? And we seen that through history. What can happen to us. Young people these days, they beginning to see what we have went through, my fathers, your fathers before that. See, it's a history. And we're seeing it now. We're seeing young people get shot down, killed by people who are supposed to protect and serve us.
We have to realize, and I'm gonna come back to you, Brother Anthony, that the prison system is now a publicly traded entity, and so people are buying stocks and bonds in prison.
Right.
The prisoners are now worth $36,000. Men are worth $36,000 in jail. Then they are more valuable outside of prison.
Exactly.
And so we have to make sure our young people are understanding their value is not in the temporary fixes of quick money and hot money, but their value is in changing the culture that has been presented at this time. W.E.B. Du Bois wrote years ago, been talking about the 10% that who's achieved success, the 10% have made it out of where we are, will forget about the responsibilities that they promised to the 90 who pushed them to the level they are at. Brother Anthony, I want you to talk about, let's talk about the way our society is and what do you see going on?
I tell you, I agree totally with Minister Adrian as far as crime, as far as jails and prisons being a big business. And as you said, it did go public. Crime does pay, but it just doesn't pay these young men who's perpetrating the crimes. They're guided towards those crimes, okay, and they're better than what they're doing, and they're not what they do. They're better than that. We know that. But prison is big business. As you said, it takes $36,000 per year per inmate to house someone in jail. Okay. Now let me finish. Okay. Now not only is that $36,000 can get you a college education.
Most people don't make $36,000 a year.
Yeah, most people don't. Now that $36,000 can get you a college education, and not only that, you can't even get one no more. They no longer allow inmates or prisoners to get a college education. One time you could. So now every young man that's on the corner, black, white, green, brown, but we know mainly black, has a bounty on their head because you're more valuable to society or certain people. You're more valuable in jail than you are on the streets. Every one of them have a $36,000 because the more people in prison, the more money they make. You can actually, I don't know if you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, you can actually invest in prisons. The phone company, the cell phones, the phone calls, the money that they make off the inmates making phone calls. The commissary, the money that they make off a commissary, the food, okay, the catering, whatever, in jail, the clothing. It's so much money, legally and illegally. They smuggling phones, they smuggling drugs, alcohol, tobacco. You just as much you get out on the street, you can get out, but the prices cost.
I think two avenues, if I may, I'm sorry. I think two avenues that we need to address tonight, and I'm going to walk down both of them. We're going to walk down both of them. One avenue is we march when somebody takes our life from a different culture or police.
Exactly.
But we don't march when we're killing ourselves.
There you go.
And I think if we're going to talk about injustice, we also have to deal with it for the aspect of we killing ourselves.
Exactly.
And our community has lost the empowerment of one another to have this now crab in a barrel mentality. That I see you trying to come out your situation, so I'm going to pull you back down.
Come on.
And I see you trying to come out and better your life, so I'm going to talk about you and bring you back down the situation. I said, so as much as we are marching in Ferguson, Missouri, and we're marching in Florida, and we're marching in other states to fight the injustice of police brutality and cultures killing us, we also have to do the same amount of marching in our own communities.
That's right.
We need to march down Park Heights Avenue
That's
and
right.
Wrightstown Road and Liberty Road
That's right.
and East Baltimore and Biddle Street. We got to march and say, listen, we're not going to kill each other because we all have value. And so as much as we're marching in Ferguson, we need to stop and do a march in Baltimore. What is your takes on, what do you take, and I want to talk to Brother T on the side, what is your take about, I know you have something you want to talk about, either aspect, you can take either road, the injustices that are going on throughout the country versus African Americans or our own injustice right here locally.
Well, I want to touch on a little bit of both.
Okay.
You know, because when you begin to deal with, the communities, especially when you say black communities, they got all, you got the white community, you got the black community, you have the Hispanic community, you have the Asian community. You have these different communities. But what is being portrayed in our community, it's about us. When I go out and I go amongst young people, I see them. You know what I mean? I can see, they got these images that they, project, which is all right. I don't put it down, because they carrying it a certain way. We carried it a certain way when we was young. You just mentioned that your pop, how he was, it kept you away from something. But look at what he was doing. Okay, so we, we see these images. And, what we want to try to do is that we have to be out there more amongst them. See, what's happening is we hide, we talk about it, and we'll tell them how to be afraid of someone who wearing a uniform. You know, the things that we see. Hold up, now. You don't allow them to be afraid of one another like that. To be afraid of someone who's supposed to protect and serve us. You know, that's the officer. I shouldn't be scared of an officer. He's supposed to approach me like I am the citizen. He's protecting me, but he's not doing that.
But we have this thing, and I think it's programmatic in all of our culture, that when we hear that whoop whoop behind us, all of us get a little nervous. Like, what is this? Why are they pulling me over? What's the reasoning behind that? And even me, no record, never been incarcerated, never had that experience, but still has that whoop, that black man's fear that I've got to deal with. When he pulled me over, what am I going to have to deal with now, and why are they stopping me when there are so many other avenues that the police could be doing? I'm not indicting our police department in no way, shape, or form. I'm not indicting our police department, but there has to be some structure that they have to abide by. There has to be some structure they had to held accountable to. And so we have all these governmental systems that are not doing what they have to do. My plea tonight is for Eric Holder, our Attorney General for the federal government, to start looking at what these police departments are doing, especially in the African American communities. The reason why I'm saying that is because, watch this, we're only 20% of the country, but we're 80% of prison populations. We're only 20% of a whole country, but only 5% of African American men are going to college. When we're looking at these hard numbers, we have to say something is wrong. And we can't just cry out for injustice for a child being killed in Ferguson, or a child being killed in Florida, or a child being killed by another culture in another state. But we have to cry out and say, this is something wrong with this picture across the board.
So you saying enough is enough? Are you saying enough is enough?
Period.
Okay,
my father was a drug dealer, but there was a change that happened.
But what do we do? Hold up now. My pop always told me, you don't let no one do anything to your sister or your brother. No one put their hands on you to do bodily harm to you. So I'm like this.
Okay.
You know, when me and my brothers was coming up, you don't hit one of us and think you're going to just not get away with that.
Okay.
You see, what's the difference because he's wearing a uniform and that we allow him to do such a thing? You see, hold up, they got bad cops and good cops. We all mentioned that.
Right.
But good cops don't do what we see some of these cops do. That's how you know a good cop from a bad cop.
But what about the question is that's put before us, that's laid before us, is this. What about us taking responsibility for our children and our community? I'm not talking about the police officers' brutality and shooting out children. I'm not talking about that part. That's real. We need to deal with that. But I'm talking about our children killing each other. From my perspective, we have to take our responsibility as black men. Whoever is in your sphere of influence, whether it's your son, your nephew, your little cousin, or whoever, you have to begin to take responsibility for yourself and do the right thing yourself, okay? And then you need to reach back and teach these children, teach whoever the young man is in your community. You have to be responsible and take responsibility for the people in your sphere of influence, whether it's in your community, your workplace. Say something to them. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to get on and point the finger at them, but tell them who they are, who they could be. Show them another option, another way out that they don't have to accept the situation they're in as their reality.
So we're getting back to the village being a part of the tribe.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
And you know, like basically, you know, I'm like you say, the injustice. You know what I mean? We deal with the injustice when it comes to racism. And it always amazed me that is you know what I mean, we don't look at the value of how our life, our children's life is not being valued when it's us killing us.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You
You know what I mean? Every day there's a black boy dying in the hands of another black man. Even in Chicago.
Absolutely.
You know, it was 67 people got shot in one day.
Absolutely.
You know, but you hear nothing about this. You know what I mean? Too weird. It's being, you know what I mean, nobody going down there and, you know what I mean, speaking out. You know what I mean? In Chicago, where there's a high number of black on black. If it was white people that was being killed like that or shot like that, they would shut it down.
I think we have to understand. Let me do two things. Scriptural. One thing is, if my people who are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways, then I'll hear from heaven and heal their land. That's the scripture that. But also the aspect that is that we have to find value back in us.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
We got value. I mean, at one time we owned the corner stores. At one time we owned the community.
You saying these things. Let me tell you something. We can straighten out our community in a matter of hours. Don't think that we ain't smart enough. We got some of the
Absolutely.
most smart. We got
Right.
some of the most smartest men and women in this city and around this country. Okay,
Absolutely.
so you know we know there's a lot of forces that comes into our communities, disrupt it, pay off. We know what's going on. It is no secret.
But how do we
I think
address
we-
the problem? How do we address it?
They address it. Here's how we address it. That's something that's been said years and years ago. It still applies to this day. When you allow someone to come into your community and tell you how to run it, other than the way we all should run it, then you're gonna have these problems. Like they say, you know, you take the I remember a saying went like this: if you take the money out the community in which you live and take it into another community where they live, that community become richer and richer.
And you be poor and,
And the community that you took that money out of becomes poor and poor.
But what does
But
that
this
have
is
to
what they've
do
been
with
doing.
black on black crime? Is what we're talking about.
Because here's what's happening. Here's what's happening. If we don't listen, you know, if you go amongst these young people, I guarantee you, listen, you talk to them out there. They know what they're doing. They know what they're saying. But I'm gonna tell you something. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear that when somebody do something to them outside of themselves. It's worse when somebody do something to you outside of yourself.
I mean, I understand
It's
the
all right
concept.
for us to correct ourselves.
I understand
We
the
can't
concept,
correct
but what you,
ourselves,
I
believe
understand what
that.
your concept. But the fact is, and this is not an indictment on a culture. Let me say this: this is not an indictment on a culture, because just as many as our other brothers and sisters marched with King as we did. So I want to make sure we're not indicting another culture, but we're saying that we have to bring value back to who we are. A great example, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off of something that you said, is that me and my sister could argue and fight for days, but not nobody jump
Else
in there.
touch it, right,
Because if you
right.
jump in something between me and her, we gonna both come after you. So I understand our concept of why people were betraying after that we're doing now. We're rioting, but we're rioting in our own community, and it's not making us look stronger together. It's making us look weaker to say that you couldn't say there was an injustice, and we're gonna fight the injustice, that we're gonna steal the resources from our own community. Because after this is over with, after it calms down, our community has to rebuild itself. We have to stop acting off of emotions and start acting off of intellect. Dr. King has some people behind him, even though Ralph Abernathy was not the one who was as vocal as King was in the civil rights movement. Ralph Abernathy kept King's movement going. Ralph kept him accountable for what he was saying. Listen, you got to keep your feet to the plow. Listen, you got to keep your nose clean. Listen, this is the reason why we're doing this, and you're our voice. But watch this, we're going to push you to be great. And our community has to get back to pushing our own community to be great. We have to stop degradizing and talking about our own people, and push our children and push our young people and push our men to be men.
Yes.
We got to push our men to be men. You don't have to be the natural father to father someone.
but you
You
still
can
talk
be a
about that
father to
money.
somebody else.
We back to that money,
Penny
ain't we?
right here.
We
This
back
is
to
the
that
key.
money, ain't we?
This is the key. Transform the mind with a renewal of the mind.
Right.
And too many of us are still living on image. We living on an image of a psychopath mental capacity of chasing that money. You know what I mean? So when we had that mentality of chasing money, you know what I mean, chasing fame, chasing image, chasing title, chasing
Poverty
fame.
mentality.
You know what I mean? This is what the world has crumbled on, of chasing that money, because this is a money society with no character, with no integrity. You know what I mean? So if you chasing after money and chasing after fame and not having no character and no integrity, with a mind being transformed, with a renewal of the mind in the spirit of the living God, you know what I mean? You're going to chase after a lot of things that is not even attainable to the will of God.
It's about
Okay.
money.
I mean, listen.
It's always been about money. And I'm gonna tell you something. It might not be equal, but it's almost up there with air, because you need it in this country. And I'm gonna tell you right now, without that money, you listen, ain't nothing gonna happen. because they listen. This is a capitalistic country. This country is about money, and they
Wait,
make money.
Wait a minute.
Wait, listen, I'm gonna give you the final word.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap this show up. Thank you all of you for tuning in. Thank you all of the guests who were with us on the day. Brother Anthony, I'm gonna give you the final word. Encourage some people, encourage some families, encourage our community to let them know they're more than a hot dollar. They're more than a quick fix, and how empowerment and how blessed they really are.
Yeah, I just want to say and encourage you all that we can do better. We are better than what we do. We're not what we did. We're better than that. And as Minister Adrian was saying about the mind being renewed and transformed, change come, as the word says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So we have to begin to think different. We have to begin to expose our young people to other realities, to other things outside of tennis shoes, jewelry, their priorities. Change the priority of them. You know, let them know who they are and what they can obtain through hard work.
Amen.
Go
I
ahead.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank all of you for coming on the show. I'm going to wrap this up. How much? I got about 10 seconds, and I'm going to wrap this up. Our show has been talking about hot money and how our young people, to understand their value, understanding that you're bigger and you're better than a quick fix. God called us to be anointed. He has created us with gifts inside, and the enemy does not attack who don't have purpose. Right. And so our community is under attack, and there has to be some men who will cry aloud and spare not. And I thank God for the men who have been on this panel who are crying out in their own way and sparing not. Let this moment be an empowerment moment. Let this moment be a shifting moment, that we don't go back to business as usual, but we take this time to say, you are the money, you are hot money, and say, listen, you won't be hot money, but you'll be valuable because you're anointed and God has created it. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome to It's On Talk Show. And today we are here at Pleasant View Gardens with the Nation of Islam, the Walk. The Nation of Islam, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has requested all the Muslims walk through the communities to show love to the communities, to ensure that someone cares about the communities. So you'll find all these brothers walking through your communities because they love you and they're concerned about you. They're concerned about your community and you being safe. We know that there is a great deal of violence throughout this city of Baltimore, and it is horrific. It's been too many deaths. So the Minister Louis Farrakhan has stood up and said, we are going to go into the communities and show the communities that we care about them and we want the communities safe. And you can believe me, when the Nation of Islam comes in a community, it demands love and respect, and thus is safe.
Comes the F-O-I. 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 F-O-I.
Man, how do you feel about the Nation of Islam being in your community? Just stopping by to say hello and to show their concern about your community and yourself.
I really don't know too much about, you feel me, like Muslim, like stuff like that for real, because I'm not too happy like Muslim and like their beliefs, but I don't go against it.
You don't knock, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, they're certainly good brothers. They were sanctioned by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to come to the communities because, again, they're concerned about your safety, the children's safety, the women's safety. So how do you feel about that?
I'm with it. Like if it's like for the children, they take it for the children because they're our future, you know. So I'm with it.
And that's a good thing. We need that in not only African Americans, but everybody.
Kind of feels good, you know, to see the black brothers all together, you know, and being united. Yes. You know what I mean? This is a good look. It's for the, you know what I mean, for the black guys that's around, you know what I mean?
That's right.
Something
Positive
to look up
image.
for. Yeah, positive image.
Absolutely.
You don't see this normally. You don't see black guys in a big bunch unless it's something, you know, violent going on, negativity.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a good look.
I just like to say thanks for the support y'all coming through here. Like you said, we don't really get too many opportunities to see something positive coming through here. And it's always good. We had church on Sundays. We got Juma on Fridays for anybody who want to come join. It's all good. And we love to keep this community clean. And we just have to get a chance at the spotlight to say we really care for our community and the children and the old people for real.
And the ladies, that's right.
Yes, especially the ladies. and the children. So thank you for coming through.
Thank you, my brother. Peace here. Assalamu alaikum.
It fills my heart to see that chivalry isn't dead amongst our black men.
That's right.
I appreciate and I really adore that my brothers can find in their heart to have compassion enough for these young men in this community.
Yes.
The young men have no one to look up to.
Okay, what you trying to be when you grow up? Firefighter. That's good, because you want to save people, right? Well, that's what we out here doing right now. Brother Nathaniel, what you want to be when you grow up? An architect. Well, y'all keep those dreams alive and make those dreams reality, and don't let nothing get in your way, okay? And anything that we can do when you see the brothers come back through the neighborhood, just ask us and we'll help you, okay? All right, y'all stay strong, soldiers. Y'all get in the house safe tonight so y'all can make it to school tomorrow, all right? All right, brothers.
Some of the brothers from the Nation of Islam are interacting with the young football players there, just showing them some love. That's it. And again, we're just moving on to the next area. This is what's important for black men to be with young black boys, to give them some hope, to let them know that indeed that there is much hope and that they can fulfill their dreams and become the great men that God has designed for them to be. Do you feel safe with the Muslims being present in your community?
No.
Okay. Why not?
Because they unsafe. Oh, no. They be doing crazy.
Oh, no. They're here to protect you. Yeah. Thank you, here.
No. They here to protect us.
Yeah.
I feel safe.
Yeah.
I feel safe.
Okay, all right.
I think that's a right awesome and excellent thing that they're actually stepping out and walking into community, making sure that the young people is safe, making sure that the community and the environment is very positive. I think that's a very good thing. Despite the religions that might be here, he looked beyond that and just told his people to come look over the community.
Right. It would be greatly appreciated if they would do a little bit more, but we appreciate what they're doing now because at City Springs, we have a football field.
That is a school.
Yes, at City Springs School, we have a football team for our young boys. We have different activity, not only for the boys, but also for the girls, to keep them motivated, to keep them in school instead of dropping out of school. And we need that inside the school and also outside.
Absolutely,
the school.
that's right.
And we have the firehouse around here where we have a football team also, and the gentlemen that work with the boys is really good, and they work with these boys on weekends and everything, but they also need more, like I said, more positive male role models for our young boys.
I think it's a good influence on the young boys around here that play basketball and need some mentorship in their life.
I think it's a good idea because most of the boys around here, all they do is sell drugs. So they need a better influence than selling drugs and smoking. So, yeah.
I feel that it's a good idea since boys be riding bikes around here, just doing nothing. They help them get something useful in their life.
So do you think the presence of the Muslims would certainly stop the violence?
Yes, but then no, because they still gonna do what they want to do regardless.
I want to thank the Honorable Minister Carlos Muhammad from Mosque Number 6 and of course Minister Louis Farrakhan for the vision to have all the Nation of Islam men to walk the communities all over this nation. As you well know, crime is so rampant in the communities and it's apparently that no one really cares. Your officials, your governors, your mayors, city council persons, they've gotten those positions and absolutely forgot that the true cause and the purpose for which they have been placed in the office. But the communities are suffering. Crime-ridden, violence, AIDS, so much is going on, and nobody's coming to the neighborhoods. And we just want to thank you, Minister Farrakhan, because you've allowed the men to walk in the communities, to see about the people, to show their love, their concern, and the people have welcomed you with open arms. So we want to thank you, and we want you to know that somebody really cares for you and about you. The Nation of Islam has stepped out and they've come into your neighborhoods. And so many folks talk about this, but they haven't done this. So we want to honor the men from Mosque number 6, the Nation of Islam, under the leadership of Honorable Minister Carlos Muhammad, because these brothers have came out to your communities and showed you that they're concerned about you, your children, your women, and to inspire and to give hope to the young men. So young men, if you watch the show, I just want you to know that there are brothers that are doing positive things. They have businesses, they have jobs, they're not on drugs, they're not selling drugs, but they're producers, they're making things happen on a positive note. And you can follow their lead. They're there for you, and they will support you. So again, I invite you to come to the Mosque number 6 at Liberty Heights and Garrison. These brothers will show you love. They will embrace you. Be a part of something. And that's a great organization. So you don't have to be alone. There are some brothers that will show you love and concern. Be a part of something strong. They are strong men. Be positive. So you have someone as an example now who've shown you that they care because they came out to your community. Thank you.